Welcome to the reconnected.me podcast with Lucy Lichtenstein. That's me. Who are we as humans and beyond that? What is our nature? How do we reconnect to the deepest, wildest parts of ourselves? How important is tribe and community? What is our natural design when it comes to nutrition, movement, sleep, and our environment? What about self-love, rewilding, philosophy, or following your bliss? It's here that we discuss all this and so much more on conscious living in this safe space where all ideas and perspectives are welcome. And now, on to the show. Hi guys, before we get into the show today with Darryl Edwards from primalplay.com, just to let you know, we will be talking about Darryl's 30-day Animal Moves program, which is actually a program that I did several months ago myself, and it's super fun, it's challenging, it's enjoyable, and I think there really is merit in looking at the way wild animals move, and this is something that we dive deeper in today in the show. Just wanted to let you know that you can actually receive 20% off the price of the program if you go through my reconnected.me link. That URL is www.reconnected.me/animal moves. Now that'll get you 20% off the complete program its entirety, and that in addition to the program, it also includes a free PDF of The Importance of Play, which is an ebook that Darryl's written. You also get access to the private online Facebook support group where you can ask questions, you can interact with other people around the world that are doing the program, and you can really just be part of a supportive group of people that are doing the program and that are supportive of Darryl's Primal Play and his methodology around movement. And you also receive a play tracker, so you can basically keep track of your progress through the program. That code one more time is www.reconnected.me/animal moves. And just full disclosure here, if you use that code, that's basically a way to help support what I do here at reconnected.me. It doesn't cost any extra to you. That helps me to continue to keep the podcast and website content free for you. And there is a solo version of the program. Now that basically just includes the program only. And if you're someone that's quite motivated, you don't necessarily want to have, or you don't necessarily need support of a group, and you're not really wanting to get any of the added bonuses, you can also do the solo program. So it is a little bit cheaper, and that code, that URL is www.reconnected.me/animal moves 2. And just to confirm, it's animal moves as in MOVES. Okay guys, so we're going to dive into the program deeper in this show, so I won't keep you any longer. So for now, please enjoy this conversation with Darryl Edwards from Primal Play.
Hi everyone, welcome to the reconnected.me podcast. This is Lucy from www.reconnected.me. Today I've got a very special guest on the show for you. It's Darryl Edwards from primalplay.com. Darryl is a movement coach, natural lifestyle educator, a nutritionist and creator of the Primal Play Method. Darryl developed the Primal Play Method to inspire others to make activity fun while getting healthier, fitter and stronger in the process. Darryl is the author of several award-winning books including Paleo Fitness and Paleo from A to Z. His work has been published in titles such as Men's Health, Women's Health, Elle Magazine, Men's Fitness, and he's also been featured on the BBC documentary Eat to Live Forever. Darryl's actually been on the podcast before, so if you haven't heard our first conversation, feel free to check it out. It's episode number 7. It was a really great conversation. We actually had a lot of really good feedback, and we talked about things such as movement versus exercise, how humans were designed to move. We talked a bit about primal play and the importance of play, and it's really great to have Darryl back on the show again. So Darryl, thanks for coming back.
You're welcome, Lucy. It's a pleasure to be talking to you on this very fine morning here in London for a change.
Oh, beautiful. So Guys, I wanted to get Darryl back on the show again because he's actually got a 30-day animal moves program, and I'm actually at the home stretch of doing it myself. And I wanted to dive a bit deeper into that today because I think it's a really great program. And, I believe there's a lot of value in looking at the way animals move, and, we can really gain a lot from that in our lives. So, Darryl, first off, why this program? Why did you create this program? And maybe what can we learn from looking at the way animals move?
Well, firstly, I wanted to create a challenge or program that would engage you in movement every single day. So often when we think about working out, it tends to be, every other day. You're looking at rest days, recovery days, but we were designed to move continuously, at different intensities. And our rest or our recovery would be a natural consequence based on the work that we did previously, and rather than sort of programmed as part of as a workout regimen. So what I wanted to do is to ensure that by moving as animals do, that you're focusing on whole body movements at varied intensities, that you're not working in isolation, in muscle groups in isolation, but focusing on the entire body and looking at movement patterns that we should all be engaging in. So as humans, we're fairly unique in the respect that we're jack of all trades and masters of none. We can't run as fast as a cheetah. We can't jump as well as a kangaroo. We can't climb as well as a bonobo. But what we can do is partake in all of those movement patterns. We can run, we can crawl, we can sprint, we can climb, we can jump, we can lift, we can carry. And so all of those movement patterns are what we need to partake in order to be more human, in order to be making sure that we overcome our weaknesses when it comes to movement. And from a fitness point of view, it would ensure that you're covering stamina and speed and strength and agility and coordination and balance. So all these components of fitness that are really important and proven to be important can be covered in a very inclusive movement program like the Animal Moves Challenge.
Yeah, and I suppose we sometimes think that we're different to animals, but really we're wild animals ourselves. So even though we're bipedal, we walk on two legs, there's so much that can be gained from exploring these different types of movement patterns that really require to be healthy in the environment that we live in. And so super important to acknowledge that. We sort of forget.
Yeah, we sort of forget our connection with nature, and part of that connection is through movement and our interaction with the environment. And kids, in their innocence, very young children, they explore their natural and instinctive movement capability. They do engage in quadrupedal, crawling, kind of cross-pattern movements. Yeah. They walk using different types of gait. They run, they sprint, they climb, they piggyback carry the other siblings and their peers. They do this stuff. They don't have to be taught or told to do this. And as adults, we lose that kind of experience of exploring not only ourselves, but also our environment. And so if we're constantly being bipedal and never quadrupedal, we forget what it's like to be fully in contact with the ground, with our hands and our feet. We have a different vantage point, looking around your environment when you're only a few inches off the ground or, a few centimeters off the ground is obviously different if you're walking tall. So most things in the modern era tend to be very one-dimensional, and conventional fitness can also offer a one-dimensional experience, i.e., I'm just going to be a runner because I enjoy running. And so the only experience I'm going to get out of this is running long distances. The further I get in my run, the more enjoyable it is. But then what tends to happen is people suffer a lot of running-based injuries. Runner's knee, getting shin splints, having plantar fasciitis. This is what happens when you just focus on one movement pattern to the detriment of others. And whereas if you undertake lots of different movement patterns, you're less likely to get repetitive stress injuries. You're less likely to get running injuries if you're also doing some strength work, if you're also doing other movement patterns that aren't just stressing, the muscles and the joints that are involved in running alone. And if you think about it from an ancestral point of view, we wouldn't just be running. There'd be no requirement just to run. Probably the only movement pattern that you would do often would be walking. You'd have to walk to get from point A to B, but you would tend to run because of danger, or you tend to run maybe because of a game that you'd be playing, but you wouldn't just run for the sake of running. So the movements that we did as ancestors were usually part of our survival, or part of having fun recreationally, or dancing, or building structures or defending our family units. That's the reason for movement. There was a purpose for movement. And so in the 21st century, where movement is kind of engineered out of our environment, convenience means we don't have to engage in as much movement as we once had to. We have to make a conscious decision and a conscious effort to bring some exercise and training and movement into our life, which will model and replicate what we had to do when we had no choice. So that's what I think is really important. Exercise is kind of like a supplement or a substitute for the lack of movement. The lack of movement that we see today. Exercise and movement is one way of addressing what we had in abundance in the past. So
it's just a part of our day-to-day life, right?
Exactly. We had to move functionally. We had to move practically, because if we didn't, we couldn't eat. We wouldn't have shelter. We wouldn't have had progress if we hadn't engaged in movements. This is what makes us human, is our capability to move across multiple domains and with multiple functional capabilities. And so if there's a detriment, if there's a deficiency in any of those movement patterns, we will be less capable, but also less healthy as a result. So I think that's really important to recognize the power of movement, the power of this kind of holistic approach to movement, which is extremely important. Just as important as other aspects of a healthy lifestyle, like good food and nutrition and sleep and managing, moderating stress. Movement and the types of movement we engage in are also extremely important.
Absolutely. And I was just thinking, like, if you kind of just zoom back the lens and think about the ancestral perspective, and then think about, humans not being separate from nature, living with the animal kingdom and all these other living beings that are part of nature. Why is it that humans, we don't really know how we're supposed to move, so we create these different types of things like exercise, as you were saying. But animals don't need to do that. Animals move exactly how they were designed to move. Maybe just as long as they're living as naturally as possible, maybe if they're in the wild, or, they're not sort of living in a domesticated environment or a zoo or something like that. I mean, generally they kind of just, it's something that's innately within them. But we've kind of separated ourselves from that in the way that we move. Interesting observation that I've noticed, and I think that I've actually also realised from doing your program, that all these types of animal movements are exactly how animals were designed to move, but we have all these other ways that we've created that aren't necessarily conducive to our natural design.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think we have to acknowledge that some animals are immediately fully conversant with their movement patterns as soon as they're born.
Yeah.
Like a horse, very shortly after a horse gives birth, their offspring can walk.
Yeah.
They can move on all fours immediately. They're not as competent as an older horse, but they have the basic capability of a lot of their movement patterns immediately. As humans, we have a more significant development time than other mammals. It takes us a long time to get from a wholly dependence on our parents to be able to start crawling and to be able to stand and to walk. And so because of this, there is some education that's imparted. There is something else which isn't just about instinct. And when children are given that opportunity to explore their environments through movement, that's what happens. They learn to crawl, they learn to control their balance, they learn to walk, they learn to run and to manipulate objects. That's what happens in a normal, healthy development, a physical development of a child. What tends to happen, though, is convention will say, sit down, stand still, stop moving around, stop it, just sit down, sit in your high chair, stop it. So exactly. It's dangerous. Don't do that. Yeah. So we basically encourage our children initially. Oh, look, Johnny's walking. Look, he's running. Look, he's climbing. Then we start getting overly concerned. Stop climbing. Stop rushing around in the supermarket. Stop, get off the floor. Stop crawling. You should be walking now. So before long, you're constrained by, in terms of your behavior, in terms of what's acceptable. And so you have to be only taking part in certain movement patterns at certain times, in certain environments. Then it may become highly structured, i.e. you're playing sports or sporting activities. And that tends to be what happens to us as we get older. But imagine if we were allowed to be completely free roaming and free ranging and didn't have these societal restrictions as to what was permissible in terms of movement, I'm sure we would all be far more capable in terms of our movement practice, in terms of our physical literacy. So I think that's the problem. If the opportunities for those type of movement patterns are taken away from us, whether that's because we're dictated to by society, or whether it's because convenience sets in and takes over. Oh, I don't have to do that because I have this appliance to do it for me. Yeah. That's when we'll suffer. So we get kind of atrophy, not only of the muscles, but we also get atrophy in terms of our skills. So our brain, the motor neurons in the brain don't need to be focusing on all of those different movement patterns. They just focus on what you do every single day. So do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like if you learn to ride a bike and then years later you try to ride the bike again, there's a little bit of a shaky start, but you can get that back. But if you didn't learn to ride a bike as a kid, it's very, very difficult to learn it as an adult. So when your brain is the most kind of elastic and there's that high levels of neuroplasticity, your ability for your brain to actually develop kind of muscle memory, that's when we should be exploring all of those movements and all of the colors of movement possible. And the more we can retain that, the more we can train in that way, the longer we're going to be keeping that capability. And so for myself as an adult who had probably 20 years of a sedentary lifestyle and just sitting at a desk was my pastime, I had to relearn and re-engage and recapture that capability again. And there were some things that I wasn't very good at as a kid, didn't have the opportunity, or was too scared, or was told not to. And so I struggle with a lot of that as an adult, but I'm so passionate and excited about attempting some of these movement patterns. I'm like, I'm going to do this. So I'll give you an example where as a kid, every autumn, we would play a game called scrumping. And scrumping is basically climbing apple trees, shaking the tree, and those on the ground will catch the apples, and you'd have something to eat for the afternoon. Or you'd take some home, whatever. And usually it would involve a neighbor's garden. So it wasn't exactly, it was a little bit mischievous, but that's what would happen. And so I was the kid who wouldn't want to climb a tree. I'd be the kid, I'll catch the apples. Oh, yeah. Because I'd be scared of climbing. I wasn't encouraged to climb. I felt very uncomfortable. I had a fear of heights. And that fear I still have as an adult. But what I do now is I make sure I face my fears, and I now climb trees. I probably climbed more trees as an adult than I did as a kid. And it's very exhilarating. It's very exciting. And I'm much more aware of my in terms of proprioception and what my body's capable of. So it's a lot of fun. But there are so many movements that we don't engage in, not even talking about climbing trees. Fitness for many of us is just, I run, I lift weights every now and again, I do some stretching when I do yoga, and that's it. And then you wonder why am I twisting my ankle when I go for a run? Why did I pull my shoulder when I was doing my, shoulder press in the gym? And it's because, movement has become so reductionist that we just get very, very strong in one particular arena. And as soon as we deviate from that, or the environment changes, we suffer the consequences. So there's a lot more to how we can train our bodies than what we can see as in terms of conventional fitness in the 21st century.
I suppose what you're saying is that, due to several influences, whether it's society, culture, something similar, that it's taken us away from experiencing the movement that we were designed to do, and it's taken us away from exploring, and then as a result, what happens later on in life is all these things start to catch up with us, whether it's injuries and different ailments and things like that. But there's a lot more awareness around that now, which is great, and programs such as the ones you've created, I think, are going to be super helpful in sort of moving forward with this, sort of making people maybe challenging them a little bit more and pushing them outside of that box of exercise, in inverted commas, and specializing in certain things, and actually, I think maybe even paradigm shifting, I would dare to say as well, because I know for me that when I was exposed to your work for the first time, several years ago, whether it was, with animal moves or just primal play in general, it really was a shift in the way that I thought about movement and the way that I perceived exercise. And there's all these different types of things that, we've been missing out on for so long, but it actually, there's so many things that we can do, and there's ways that we can make it fun and enjoyable. So, I really think that, you're onto something really good here with the program for sure.
Oh, thank you very much. And we need, if you think about it with exercise, and I'm not anti-exercise. But many of us have painful experiences with exercise. We recognize that it can just be seen as hard work, as, kind of this no pain, no gain mentality. That tends to be the you've got to work hard to get the results you want. You've got to push yourselves to the brink. You've got to collapse on the ground, in a heap of sweat in order to feel good about yourself. And, or you punish yourself for having that cream cake last night. That's what exercise is about. Get into shape by doing this. And actually movement is so much more comprehensive than that. Think about how creative we can be with movement. Whether it's through dance or, the expression that can come through movement. The rites of passages that exist all around the world using different forms of movement to progress from a child into an adult. It's such an important part of who we are. And we're deficient in many respects from that experience. And that kind of reaching that pinnacle of experience and reaching our potential. And so the paradigm shift for myself was going from fitness for the sake of fitness and exercise for the sake of exercise. And you say, I'm getting really good at exercise. But now I recognize that movement and fitness and exercise should be about becoming more capable and more functional as a human. It should be improving my health. It should be improving the likelihood of me living a longer and more functional and capable life. That's why I'm doing this. And the only way we can achieve that is by exploring and engaging in the widest array of movement patterns available. And the components of fitness, which are also really important. So, I know, for example, that my balance ability degrades as I age. So the only way I can address that, the only way I can mitigate the risk is by engaging in practices that will improve my balance. And there's no point me improving my balance on a Bosu ball, because the reality is I'm going to be on a flat ground. I'm going to be on a stable surface, and I'm going to fall because I don't have the ability to balance anymore. That risk increases as I age. So I have to maintain my balance on a stable surface and work my balance capability and continue to do so in order to maintain that ability. And it's exactly the same with other components of fitness. With speed. Speed also degrades as we age. So I have to maintain that. I have to work at very high intensity, not just steady state. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there are several areas that tie into aging. Sarcopenia, where we lose muscle mass. Our loss of balance, where we lose bone density. All of those are features of aging, and many of us are aging prematurely because we aren't doing weight-bearing work which will maintain bone density. We're not engaging in practices which will improve our balance. We're not working at high intensities to improve our ability to maintain high levels of workload. So you see somebody who lives a more traditional lifestyle, who lives to a great age, who's doing stuff. They tend to live long and do very well and are very independent because they don't decide it's time to slow down. Do you know what I mean? They don't decide it's like, oh, I can't, the gardening doesn't need to be done anymore because I've just had enough. It's like, no, I want food. I want to tend to my garden. I want to go out and dance with my peers, because it's fun. Those are the sort of decisions that we should be making, regardless of our age. We want to do stuff because it feels good, because it's healthful, and because it will maintain our youthfulness and exuberance for as long as possible.
Absolutely. You want to be able to make the most out of your life and sort of not get towards those later years and not be able to physically do anything or look after yourself or, play with your grandkids or whatever the case may be. It's always going to come back to, movement, isn't it? I mean, of course, there's many options, but I think movement, whether you're a child or doesn't matter what age you are, I think movement's always going to be the one constant thing that we all have in common that is a necessity for life.
Yes, exactly. That's a great way of putting it. And we know what the impact is if we don't move. If a very young kid doesn't move, they're more likely to suffer from things like, attention deficit disorder. They're more likely to have, if they don't play, they're more likely to suffer from conditions such as autism. They're more likely to suffer, have issues with emotional intelligence if they don't have that playful interaction at a very young age. The older we get, if we're not moving, we're more likely to be depressed. The older we get, we're more likely to suffer from, osteoporosis and other conditions that we associate with getting older. So movement is extremely important regardless of our age. And the health benefits, it is kind of a polypill, really. Pretty much every condition you can think of, the risks are reduced by somebody who's more physically active than someone who is sedentary. So sitting, that's why sitting is almost termed as a sitting disease is, the term used for somebody who's very physically, is physically inactive. And it's something that's becoming increasingly more pervasive in society because we are sitting more and doing less. And even those of us who are engaged in health, there are many of us who are downplaying movement and physical activity by saying it's all about food. As long as you eat really well, you'll address all of your health issues just with a good diet. But that's paying a huge disservice to what we need to live a healthy lifestyle. And the one argument I always throw out there to somebody who says food is the be all and end all is how the heck did you get that perfect food way back when? What were you doing? Did somebody just, come along and give you all the perfect macronutrients and micronutrients you needed for you to have optimal health? No, you had to grow up. You had to do the work to be able to obtain that food. The preparation for that food would also take quite a lot of work. Do you know what I mean? It didn't just appear by rubbing a genie's lamp. And so because we have all this access to really good food and education around what's nutritious, we feel that's good enough. You know, I can click a button, I can get the perfect food delivered, already prepared. All I need to do is to put it into my mouth. And actually, I don't need to do that. I can just, blend it and just drink it. I don't even need to chew. I don't even need to go through the mechanical effort of chewing now. I can just drink all of the calories I need.
You can outsource the movement within your own mouth, your own body part.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the first part of the digestive system and kind of mastication, the mechanical aspects of chewing, it's like we don't even need that anymore. Just give me a straw and a liquidized form of food, and I'm all good. And it's there's a bit of banter there, but it's so true.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that we're seeing that shift. And it's a shame that we're reading somebody's blog post at 1 a.m. about how to cook the perfect meal when we should be sleeping at that time. Do you know what I mean? Or we're becoming so neurotic about food that we're becoming highly stressed about it, not realizing that that's also detrimental to our health. So I think this approach to movement and being more holistic about engaging as many movement patterns as possible and to have fun and to make sure that it's effective movement also should permeate through to all of the other lifestyle choices we make as well. There isn't a silver bullet for a healthy lifestyle. It's multifactorial, and we need to make sure we're engaging in all of these healthful practices to become and to maintain our health and reduce the risk of disease. So if anything does happen, anything does befall us, we're in a stronger position to deal with it, to deal with that.
Yeah, and they all tie in together as well. You could be great with all your movement, but then if you're eating a poor diet or you're not sleeping and, or you're highly stressed, you've got to do all of these things. They're all just as important.
Yeah, for sure. And the environment's important too. If you're always in a gym, in an air conditioned climate, that's not the same as you being out in nature and interacting in your environment and seeing and getting, some vitamin D and getting soil-based organisms and health-promoting bacteria into contact with those bacteria, with that bacteria by being outdoors in nature and, touching the earth and actually engaging with the environment. So there are so many health benefits that come from exercising outdoors, being outdoors over and above the physical activity itself. So, as your blog constantly promotes and as many of us are talking about this kind of wide angle, lens, let's look at things at that sort of level rather than this kind of macro, like, oh, yes, this nutrient right here is what's beneficial. This one exercise, if we do that one exercise, we'll address all of the issues around physical inactivity. You know what I mean? It's like, well, no.
Mechanistic.
No. Exactly. So this reductionist view, which does make good headlines. It does help you to sell the kind of pill or the silver bullet approach to a healthier lifestyle. But if we just go back to basics and go, if I just do a little bit of all of these things, if I focus on my sleep and I focus on my eating and I focus on my movement and I focus on having really good, healthy relationships and I get healthy exposure to the sun and if we do those things, if we slow things down, if we spend time having good communication and we spend time preparing our foods and we think about our environment and the planet and sustainability, and we become more, less insular and more kind of cooperative, we'll all be healthier, and our environments will become healthier, and it'll be a better example to give to our children and grandchildren. So there's far more to this lifestyle than just focusing on movement. And with Primal Play, what I'm trying to deliver and what I want people to experience is that there's far more to movement and exercise than what they may have previously experienced. And so this is a gateway to hopefully enable people to go, oh, what else can I do? Where else can I go? What other movements can I engage in? What can I pursue that is actually really fun and effective and helpful? What's going to make me want to get out of bed in the morning and say, yes, I want to be engaging in really youthful movement. And so when people meet me for the first time, and they often say that I look and I seem younger than I am, and part of that is because my mindset is now very playful. I feel as if I'm on a playful path. I feel that my lifetime of being really serious and being pedantic about all these details that don't really matter, it's now about me trying to experience joy and a more blissful path. And so whether it's the foods that I eat or the movement that I undertake or the people that I decide to surround myself with in my tribe, that's a pursuit. That's a helpful pursuit for me now. And that's why I'm very thankful and grateful to be engaging in Primal Play, because I'm helping people recapture their enjoyment of movement, because that's what it should be about. You should have a smile on your face when you are undertaking some of these activities, when you are engaging with other humans and playing primal tag and playing lots of the games that you played as kids. It's like, this is fun. This gets your heart racing. This gets your muscles moving, your joints lubricated, and but you're having fun at the same time. Yeah. So what could be better than that combination?
Absolutely. And so you just mentioned there the joy of movement, and it seems to be your overarching theme of what you're doing, whether it's Primal Play or other things that you're doing. For me, for as long as I can remember, I mean, even back in school days, I was always someone that was active. I loved sports. I did love to move, and I suppose, I went through the whole exercise thing as well as we all go through that. And I suppose I have to be honest, I really feel that I hadn't sort of realized the joy of movement for myself until quite recently, probably in the last year, even though I have kind of been immersed in all of this for a while now. And, I'd love to know for you, is it about finding joy in movement, or do you think is it a paradigm shift, or is it something that's innately within us, but it just needs to be realized through each of our health and life journeys?
It's a really interesting, as always, really interesting conversation trainer for Lucy. I can only speak about my own experience, but I feel that many of us have a similar history, and that history is a play history. So Stuart Brown, who's a huge advocate on play, speaks about all of us having this kind of play history, and you can go back to your childhood and remember when you could just be so embraced. You'd be embracing a kind of a play experience, whether that you were on your own and you'd be imagining, being a superhero, or imagining your environment that you would be interacting with, or running, being chased, by a monster or something like that. You'd be so fully engaged in that, and you wouldn't need many tools in order to spark that visualization and that imagination. And we kind of grew out of it, and I feel part of that growing out of it is society and convention once again. And I was able to recapture that by thinking about how enjoyable movement was at one stage in my life. And so for me, going to school and then becoming semi-okay at sports, or one sport in particular, but not that good. But I was fairly okay, and then starting to train, and I wanted to join the I went to the trials to play for the city. It was basketball, and I failed dismally. I wasn't good enough. I could play for the school, but I wasn't good enough to play at the city level. But the amount of punishment, the amount of training drills that I had to go through just to be told I wasn't good enough. And then my experience and my enjoyment of basketball, it changed. I didn't have as much fun playing. It was just about getting into the team. It was just about what I was going to do next year, what I was going to do to get better. And so that approach to fitness stayed with me for most of my adult life, until I encountered this new approach, this playful approach, and what I needed to do to maintain motivation. And I think all of us have this innate ability to enjoy movement. And that's why we seek it out as adults. We might go to a club and dance. We might take up a hobby which involves playing some sort of sport that you really enjoy, or going hiking, or doing obstacle course racing. We're constantly seeking these pursuits and challenges in order to enjoy movements. But we don't have to, we have to kind of look within, I would say, rather than looking to the exterior for that enjoyment. If you understand what I mean. We all have it within us.
Absolutely.
We can see it in our children, and we can see it in we can see it in children around us. They have this innate spark, like, boom, it's there. They want to play. They want to have as many play minutes as possible. And so as adults, we have other things to do. We can't play all day. But we can definitely have a playful mindset. And we can ensure that when we are partaking in physical activity, we can make it more playful. So I'll give you an example. If I'm walking on the pavement, I will avoid the cracks in the pavement sometimes. I will walk as if I'm on hot coals. And I know it's quite strange, and it's definitely strange to an observer, somebody spectating going, what the heck is that grown man doing? But I don't really care anymore. I'm like, I just feel like doing this now.
Yeah.
It may only last a few minutes. It may only last a few seconds. But right now, that's what I want to do. I see a bus shelter. I feel like doing a pull-up on the bus shelter. There are people standing here. They're going to think I'm strange. I don't care. It can support my body weight. I can do a couple of pull-ups. That's it. Job done. So I'm constantly seeking ways to find opportunity for movement. That's what I'm doing. I spend less time on my sofa now because I'd rather sit on the ground. Yeah. And because I'm sitting on the ground, it's very uncomfortable, which means I'm always moving. I'm always shifting my position. I'll go from a squat to crawling for a bit. I'll crawl to get the remote control. I'll crawl into the kitchen. I'll roll off the bed. I'll navigate my sofa in a different way now. I mean, it's very playful. It's very strange. You feel more comfortable doing it when you're on your own. But that's what I do now to get more movement minutes in my day, to have more kind of movement snacks. And I feel we all need to kind of break out of our shell. And Primal Play, I'm offering this service to enable people to feel that it's okay actually to be more playful when it comes to movement. And you don't have to be aspiring to be the next Instagram fitness model and to work towards your 8-pack abs. It's about the experience that's important, not about what the aesthetic result will be. Yeah. And it's about how capable you can be and how you can help others when they're in a time of need, physical need. My friend had to move house the other day, and I know years ago I would have said, heck no, I'm not helping you. I'd rather pay someone. Yeah, exactly. Now I'm like, I can't wait to help you. I can't wait to do some. It's going to be I don't get to do any real labor, so that's going to be a great day of us shifting some heavy stuff. It was just me and my friend. There's only two of us, and I'm telling you, like, there are times you're like going, really? What I mean? Huge chairs, huge beds. We're trying to like climb several flights of stairs. How are we going to do this? But there was a lot of delight in us, like, experiencing and exploring how we could actually achieve this, and we did it. So we could approach moving heavy household goods in a kind of a playful way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So rather than thinking it's just going to be daunting and like, oh, I'm going to feel sore the next few days. Oh yeah, and I felt sore, and I felt great about being sore. I felt alive. I felt as if I'd actually, did some honest days bit of work. So yeah, this playful approach to movement can permeate throughout your entire life. You can encourage others to do so, and it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
And it's never too late to crawl like a bear.
Never too late. It's funny that you talked about helping your friend move, because I actually moved house recently, probably in the last month or so, and previously, and I've moved around a lot over the years. Previously, it was always, getting a removalist. This time we did most of it ourselves, other than maybe some of the heavier stuff like the fridge and things like that. But everything else, and I actually took a lot of joy in doing it, because I think it comes back to that mindset that you were talking about as well. You know, I kind of approached it as, this is going to be my way of getting extra movement. This is an opportunity to move more and to, you know, be able to do something that's required in my everyday life. And so I found that great, and I wouldn't, you know, I would do the same thing next time, and I would keep doing that. But I suppose that's where it comes back to convenience in our society. There's always someone that you can hire to do something for you that takes, you know, less work and less movement for you, which, you know, over time, it might not seem like a lot day to day, but over time it adds up, and it's a shame.
Yeah, and you know, to be fair, I mean, I don't want to live, you know, at any other time apart from 21st century. Do you know what I mean? I don't. Yeah. So
we want to
I'm very happy that
context.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm happy with my smartphone. I'm happy that we can record a podcast. I'm happy about technological progress. I'm not so happy about the fact that it becomes more difficult for us to avoid the trappings of a modern lifestyle, which mean we're more likely to have foods of convenience like fast food. We're more likely to be sedentary because it feels great not to have to move and have everything done for us. So yeah, that's the issue. And so what can we do? You know, if I've got a really demanding job, if I'm, you know, a busy mother with kids and a full-time job, what can I do that means I can make the best of the time that I have? And so I don't have to be in the gym, you know, like for an hour every single day to maximize the benefits of a physically active lifestyle. You know, I can decide to take the stairs when I'm in the office. I can spend more time playing with the kids rather than just giving them a tablet to play with. You know, I can, when I go to the park with them, instead of sitting on the bench, I can actually do some stuff myself. I can, you know, do a high intensity protocol, which takes, you know, 10, 15 minutes rather than me spending an hour, and still get the same sort of benefits. So the Animal Moves program, I'm creating it for those who are constrained with time. You know, you've only got 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day to do some purposeful movement. That's what the program offers. So pretty much I think the longest activity in the Animal Moves program is about 30 minutes. And I programmed it that way to enable people to find the time, most days, to be able to undertake, you know, some sort of activity that's going to be really beneficial for them, and to give them an experience that they hopefully will decide this is worth pursuing. Because you want this to become you know, habitual. You want this to become something that you want to continue to do because it feels good, and because you know there are benefits in doing so. That only come about by doing it, not by talking about it or by reading about it. You actually have to do this stuff. So sometimes, you know, information overload means you just spend time thinking, oh, wouldn't it be great to have the time to spend more time, you know, moving and exercising? Actually, no, just do it. Just find the opportunities. Just do it.
Yeah. I want to ask you a little bit more about the program, but I'll just make a comment on what you just said before. So, in terms of the joy of movements, for me, something has shifted, you know, in the last maybe year or so, and what I found is that once I was able to drop the, I mean, I've known about this stuff for many years, and I suppose I've understood it intellectually, but it wasn't until I was able to somehow drop a lot of the, you know, we need to be going to a certain activity for a certain amount of time, or, you know, doing all these different types of movement activities. But once I was actually able to really embody the whole, finding just the little movements that you can do in your everyday life, or doing things that might be a bit more challenging, or taking a long way to do something, or taking the harder way to do something. Once I was able to really embody that in my everyday life, that's when I actually really started to appreciate movement at a much deeper level, and that's where this joy of doing it really started to come about. And, you know, I suppose it's a combination of influences from you with this primal play stuff, as well as just finding areas in my own environment that I just love exploring. So, for example, like I live right near the beach, and I've got these climbing rocks, and I go out there most days and just probably about 40 minutes just climbing up and down the rocks and then coming back and going the same way or a different way. And I now feel that, like, if I take it 2 days with not doing it, I actually feel like I really, really miss it. And I take so much joy in just doing it. And yeah, it's been amazing. So I think that, yeah, like when you can realize that it doesn't have to be this, like what you said before, putting yourself through a gym session or, you know, just all this like pain and, you know, discomfort and not enjoying it and not having fun with it. When you can kind of get to that point, like there is so much joy to be had. And yeah, it doesn't even feel like, it's not a chore. It's not something that you have to try and make time for in your day. You just do it. It becomes a part of you. It becomes second nature.
Yeah, no, that's a really good story. And I think, you know, hopefully that's what I'm trying to do in terms of promoting movement and promoting health. Is you want this to be natural. You want this to feel as if it's part of your DNA. You know, you want this to feel as if it's, you know, what we should be doing, because we need to do this, because there are so many benefits that come out, you know, are far more than just hitting a checklist of, I need to get my 30 minutes of movement every single day. And so if you just decide to take the path less traveled, you know, you see a set of stairs and you see an elevator or an escalator, it's like, I'm going to take the stairs. And do you know what I mean? And, you know, when somebody decides, you know, the amount of times I've seen people, you know, if I'm using the underground, if I'm using the subway in London, like the tube in London, and I'm seeing people like carrying heavy bags and really struggling. Years ago, I would have been like, yeah, whatever. I'm walking straight past. I've got, you know what I mean? That's your problem. And now I'm like, hey, do you want to, I'd love to give you a hand. And as well as being really chivalrous, it's also like, I'm getting a bit of work done. You know what I mean? I'm getting a bit of a workout done as well. So I seek out these opportunities. And what people don't realize is this cumulative effect is really beneficial. That 1 or 2 minutes over the course of a day, added up every single day, will become hours over, you know, a month, and it will become scores of hours over a year of movement minutes that you wouldn't have had if you hadn't have made those decisions. And it hasn't carved into your time in any way. So I think that has to be that's probably going to be the how a lot of us will approach movement in future, is thinking about how we can just make very simple decisions that doesn't take excessive amounts of time, that will give us a lot of the benefits we need. And then when we do have to focus on being very purposeful, i.e., you know, I do need to focus on a particular type of training to improve part of my, you know, movement practice, that's when you can dedicate yourself in that moment of time. But elsewhere, you can just decide, hey, you know what? I'm going to crawl down these stairs. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to decide not to take the bus today. I'm going to piggyback carry my partner. I'm going to, you know, become a human climbing frame and let my kids climb on me. You know, I'm going to do this stuff. I'm going to play some of the games I played as a kid. I'm going to climb a tree. I'm going to, if my car breaks down, I'm going to push it rather than waiting for the, you know, the car mechanic to come and tow the car for me. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's so many things we can engage in. And I would just say, for anyone who's concerned about, if you've been sedentary for a while and you're really concerned about getting into a program and you don't feel up to it, I would say, I know exactly how you feel. I was very much a couch potato. I won lots of awards for being a couch potato and being very sedentary. And I suffered a lot of physical ailments because of it. I had problems with my knees. I had low back pain for almost 20 years. And I felt as if that was it for me. I just wasn't going to be able to get fit and active again because it was just too painful to do anything. Sitting down was comfortable. Wearing supports on my knee and a back brace was comfortable. And now I realize that those are really detrimental. And the day I decided to engage in movement again, I became stronger. I was in less pain. It doesn't mean that the pain will, your pain threshold levels will be zero, but it just means that you're better able to manage that discomfort and you become stronger, more capable. And now I no longer wear knee supports. I no longer wear back braces. And I no longer take pain relief because of those issues. So regardless of your initial starting point, it's never too late. And whatever you do will always be progress. You know what I mean? So you'll always be in a better place by undertaking some movement that is helpful and a movement that takes you out of your comfort zone of just sitting down all the time in a chair or in your car or on transport on the way to work. So seek out opportunities to move, engage in as many practices as possible, and make sure more than all that you're having lots of fun.
For sure. And your approach in general is very, very accessible, but I'm assuming that this program is also for anyone, right? So at any activity level, at any fitness level, ages and all of that.
Yeah. So I've designed it to be inclusive and to ensure that whether you're a couch potato or whether you're an elite athlete, you will still have lots of value by taking part in the program. So I've made no assumptions here, and there are 3 pathways from beginner, intermediate, and advanced, and you can decide what's appropriate for you. You can decide, even though it is a 30-day challenge, you have lifetime access to the course. So if you want to do, take part in the program every few days, if you want to do it in conjunction with something else that you're doing, the program is you're able to do so. It's very flexible. It gives you, you don't have to worry about having timers programmed because timers are included. There's video instructions so you can see what the movements, how the movements should be performed. And there's nothing in there that requires you to have a high level of skill or where it's going to take you years to develop, the movement pattern in the way that it should be. It's more of a case of just trying it out and seeing how you feel and seeing what you need to do in order to progress and get better. Because some of us have just lost that connection with how we should feel when we move. So sometimes we recognize discomfort. We register discomfort as pain, when actually this is part of our body getting stronger. Part of our body saying, "Oh my goodness, you haven't utilized me for quite a while, and I need to know how to adapt to this." So this discomfort that can come and muscle soreness that comes from exercise and from movement that you haven't undertaken for a while, provides significant benefit. It reduces inflammation in the body. It improves and increases bone density. It helps with the integrity of the joints. It keeps us more mobile and flexible. So, it is a more difficult and a harder path to tread. And if I could receive the benefits of movement, being sedentary, playing my games console, that's what I would do. But unfortunately, you can't. You have to, you know what I mean? If I could be fed grapes and have everything given to me and me playing my computer games all day, trust me, that's what I would do. And my bills would be paid. That's what I would do all day, every day. But I know, that's obviously detrimental and wouldn't be a healthy lifestyle choice.
Yeah.
So sometimes we have to take the more difficult path, but it doesn't mean it has to be a painful one. There may be some discomfort. There may be some days that you feel as if, I'm not really sure I want to be doing this. But that's why we have a community. There are other people who are doing this program at the same time. You can post your feedback to the group and let people know how you're getting on. You can ask questions of myself or those taking part. We are a tribe. We are connected, even if it's virtually, to ensure that we all are successful when undertaking this program.
Yeah, everyone in that group, whoever posts something, everyone's always so supportive and engaged. It's really, really nice. Darryl, would love to know, what are some of your favourite animal moves, and what are the most challenging for you?
Well, that's a good question. I would say, the crawl. So the bear crawl was one of my favorites, because I just feel as if every single part of me is working, from my fingertips, my palms, my feet, my back, my core, legs, shoulders, everything is working. And that coordination and the fact that I'm trying to move with some grace and composure, and it's really quite challenging to do. Especially for the first time, it's like, well, I'm not sure. I'm all fingers and thumbs. What's going on here? But after a while, you just realize, oh, actually, I'm starting to feel what this movement should be like. I'm starting to embody the animal, the spirit of the animal, by doing this bear crawl. And so that's probably one of my most enjoyable. And it's also quite challenging when you're doing it very slowly and purposefully. When you're really focusing on the quality of the movement, it's quite challenging. And it's about what you want to put into it, to be fair. You could just go through the motions and not really care about what you're doing, just thinking, oh, it's just a workout, done. Mm-hmm. Or you could say, no, I really want to feel, I want to experience what my body is capable of when I'm undertaking these movement patterns. So a bear crawl would be one. And probably the most challenging would be a crocodile walk.
Yes, hands down.
Which is so again, I do have a
really
beginner's.
Well.
I've been doing it for a while, which certainly helps. But again, all of the movements I have, beginner, intermediate, and advanced variants. Crocodile walk is very difficult. It's like a very low plank, where pretty much you're supporting yourself just with your palms and your feet, and you're hovering a centimeter or so off the ground, and you try and shuffle along, looking like a crocodile or an alligator, and that takes a lot of core strength, a lot of like a full body strength, to be honest. But again, it goes to show that you don't need much in terms of additional equipment. You don't need to lift weights. You don't need to have expensive equipment in order to achieve really good results. Just using your own body weight and a novel approach to movement. So those are probably the two movements that I would say are challenging, and also you learn a lot about yourself by doing those movements. Probably the most fun would be the bunny hops.
Yes, that's my favorite.
Because so that would probably be the most fun. You can spend quite a bit of time laughing as you're challenging your balance, and then at the end of it, you really feel, especially in the quads, you're like, ooh, that really, yeah.
And days after too.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. So it's a lot of fun, but you feel the burn as well in a good way.
Yeah, and I find the monkey walk quite fun as well. There's so many good ones, and there's so many fun ones. But something that I've really noticed is it can look really simple, but it is like a lot of the moves are just really challenging, and you do really use your whole body. And it also ticks the box of being fun. So, you're kind of getting all these different inputs and nutrients from doing these types of moves, for sure.
Yes, and just to add on that before I forget, and that when you're engaging in these movements that you may not have done before, or haven't done since you were a child, this creates neurogenesis, which is growth of neurons in the brain. So you're reducing the likelihood of cognitive decline as you get older. Your brain it actually grows new brain cells. So it's very beneficial to partake in movements that you haven't done before, especially ones involving kind of left, right, quadrupedal movements, as many of the movements are. These animal moves are. And what's really interesting is when you observe the animal kingdom, rest of the animal kingdom, they move really gracefully with lots of composure, and they don't have to think about it. It's just the way that they move. Mm. With humans, oftentimes we're so disconnected with our ability and capability to move that even walking, we can be quite clumsy, really bad posture, putting lots of undue stress on our joints. We have to think about getting really comfortable shoes just to be able to walk. give ourselves support to be able to walk. And so the Animal Moves program is not just getting us to move more for 20 or 30 minutes a day. It's getting us to experience and to explore how we can embody the spirit of an animal. Yeah. So if we're doing a bear crawl, you're thinking about how the animal moves and why they move in that way. If they were tracking an animal and they're being a predator, they'd be lower to the ground, they'd be softer, moving, much more softer movements. There's less impact in the joints. They're still very graceful and very composed. And that's what the program is about. Not just getting you to undertake some movement minutes, but also to experience and explore how your body should move in slightly different contexts. And that can then transfer to how you undertake movement at other times of the day. Your posture can change when you're going for a walk. You start thinking about how you should be setting yourself and what your static positions and what your dynamic positions should be. You become aware of when you're in a really slouching posture. When you're spending too much time looking at your screen and head leaning forward, you start to realize it all matters how we move and how we present ourselves in terms of our physicality. So yeah, there's a lot of benefits of the program, kind of soft benefits that those who've experienced the program are well aware of, and how it can influence other areas of your life.
What's some feedback that you've had from people doing the program?
So I think one, it's the time that people are quite impressed that it's only relatively short workouts that they can integrate into their day. The level of fun that they have, because some of these movements are hard work or hard play, serious play. They're not just like rolling around in the hay and just about having fun. Some of these movements are really challenging, and some of these movements you will decide, I'd rather sit down than continue doing this. That will happen, but how you feel, when you're really connected and really mindful with these movements and the progress that you can have in a short space of time, that's really the feedback that I get. So even after a 30-day period, people who've gone through the program report remarkable results. Even if they've been really, they would regard themselves as very fit prior to doing so. They learn a lot about themselves. They learn to become much more focused and in touch and in tune with themselves by moving in this way. And it can help other areas of their life or fitness life can be improved by doing this. And for those who haven't undertaken a program for some time or haven't ventured to the gym for a good while, they realize that, one, they don't have to go to the gym. They can do this at home. They can go into their back garden. They can go to their local park if they wish to perform these movements, and that they can very quickly see some progress. They don't have to be super fit in order to do a fitness program. You just have to start, and you'll immediately progress, and you'll see benefits in terms of your resting heart rate. That's one thing I didn't mention. We have a health and fitness assessment as part of the program. And so people who do the health and fitness assessment at the beginning, at the end, they all see progress. And a lot of that progress is based on health benefits, not just, I dropped a dress size. It's actually like my health is improved. My resting heart rate is improved. My blood pressure is dropped. All things that really make a difference when it comes to your health can be radically improved even within just 30 days. So that's what I'm most proud of, and those are testimonials that I feel that touch me more than anything else.
It makes you. It reminds you of why you do it, I suppose, right? When you know that it's actually helping and impacting people in a positive way.
Yes, for sure. And I think even if somebody, having lifetime access to the course, I think even if you do the 30 days, and you decide, okay, I've done the 30 days, that's it, you will come back to it at some point, and you will incorporate some of these movements in some way, shape, or form in your movement practice going forward. So that's what I feel is probably the most beneficial aspect of this. It is a 30-day challenge, but that challenge is to lead you to become more adventurous and explorative in your movement practice, to kind of, your eyes are, opened your eyes to what else you can do, how you can enjoy movement, how you can think about its importance, not just about, I want to get into shape, but how important the fact of movement really is. So there's lots of education, as well as here's a workout for today. There's lots of education about why this is so beneficial. And it's something that once I found, I was so enamored to be able to share it with others. And I'm glad that just like you had a great experience attending my workshop several years ago, there's lots of value to this. And I think a lot of conventional fitness, a lot of the imaging we see puts a lot of people off. It can be deemed to be quite elitist. And even those of us who work within the movement, in quotation marks, field, it just becomes about almost like an ego trip. Look how amazing I am because I've spent 30 years doing this, and I can perform these really incredible movement patterns that probably no one else on the planet can do. And it's like, well, what's the point in that? We need to be actually prescribing movements that everyone can do, regardless of your age or ability or the time you have available to do stuff. Because if we really want to make a difference, when it comes to people living a sedentary lifestyle, then we need a low barrier to entry. Not this, like, come and train with me, and in 6 months you'll be able to do the splits. Who cares about that? Some people obviously do care about that, but it's like people need to do far more than be amazing at one movement pattern. Do you know what I mean? We just need to move more and have more fun doing it, and be able to see more opportunities to move. Not just wait until you have the perfect equipment, you look great with your top off, and you've got the right training shoes, then you can take part in this program. It's like, no, you can wear whatever you want, be wherever you are, have zero equipment options available to you, and have limited time, and you can still take part in this program and still get really good results. And that's what I want to continue to deliver with my programs going forward, is to be as helpful to as many people as possible by being very broad and inclusive and very general in terms of the movement patterns, but specific about the objectives that I want people to meet by undertaking the program that will lead to better health.
I can attest to something as well. What I found while doing the program is that even on times when I'm not actually physically doing the program, and maybe I'm just going for a walk or I'm at home and I need a break from the computer screen, I'm spontaneously and randomly just doing animal movements when, it feels right. And as you said, you don't need any equipment and you can be anywhere to do it. And I just find myself having these like urges and these tendencies to want to do it. I don't know, maybe it's a bit addictive in a way, or it's just so much fun. And I love that about it. So yeah, that's something that's, I feel like, I will definitely take forward into my own personal movement practice, for as long as I can, for as long as I'm able to. So, and actually I'd love to just ask you, Darryl, about your personal movement practice. I'm assuming, I always see you post all these, awesome videos on Instagram, and whether you're carrying a log or you're trying to improve your balance, walking on the top of like a rail or something like that. And, so many other things, but we'd just love to know, like, what does a day in the life of you look like in terms of, and assuming there's no 2 days that are the same, but, if you can give maybe an example.
Okay, so I do like to, eat my own dog food. So I do actually, I do the Animal Moves Challenge. So most days I will actually do one of the days of the program, believe it or not, because I believe if it wasn't good enough for me to do myself, there's no reason I should prescribe this to anyone else. So that's probably the staple of my movement practice, would be doing one of those movements, one of the days of the program. Then I would seek out stuff that I just decide to do as and when I want to do it. So it starts off with how I get out of bed in the morning. So I try and do something very novel of getting out of bed, jumping out of it, crawling out of it, rolling out of it. I then, as I say, if I'm in my living space, I spend very little time sitting on the sofa. I spend more time sitting on the floor. I do lots of crawling type movements. I always try and stand up differently each and every single time. Sometimes one hand, sometimes both, sometimes just using, one leg, both legs, crawl to stand, squat to stand, lots of different variations, almost like trying to break dance, just to stand up. But that tends to be, what I try to do, just incorporate as many movement patterns and variations as possible throughout my day. And then when I venture outside, I, again, will try and seek out lots of fun. So if I'm waiting for the bus, sometimes I'll decide to wait for the bus to be a few hundred meters away from me, and I'll sprint to the next bus stop. I'll walk. I'll sometimes wait until I know I have to wait for the next bus, 10 minutes or so. So I'll be like, you know what, I'm just going to walk for 10 minutes. Why would I wait here when I can walk for 10 minutes? So I'm constantly thinking about how I can just integrate more movement into my day without kind of like carving out 30, 40 minutes every single day. It's like, okay, I've done my 20 minutes this morning at the program. I'm taking the stairs. I'm crawling around and rolling around in my living room. That's the sort of stuff I'm doing. If I'm watching television and there's an advertisement break, I will always do some movement during the break as well. 1 or 2 minutes of doing something, then I'll be sitting down and watching the rest of the program. So that's what I tend to do every single day. And then probably in the evening, I'll have some kind of winding down rituals. So I might do a little bit of kind of more slow motion movements, nothing too vigorous. Then I'm off to bed. Yeah, it is. Yeah. I enjoy it for sure. But it feels a bit more, it feels more relaxed, and it feels less as if I'm almost less religious. Monday I have to do legs, and, leg day is Monday, Wednesday is back and try, Thursday it's my sports day, then Friday is yoga. It's like, no, every single day I more or less decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do today. This is what seems like fun. I'm feeling a bit sore. I'm sore from yesterday's high intensity, so today I'm going to do the recovery day from the program. I want to focus a bit more on breathing and stress release, so I'm going to do the breathing and posture day from the program. So as you know, you've taken part in the program. It isn't all high intensity like go, 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 go. It's also, let's slow things down. Let's focus on your posture, and let's focus on your breathing. Let's focus on exploration. Let's focus on working hard and pushing yourself. Let's focus on technique and quality of movements. Let's focus on fun. So the days dedicated to having
day in there.
Yeah, for sure. And hopefully you can get other people involved as well, and you can come up with your own ideas of whatever you find to be lots of fun. So that's something I always try and engage in, and Primal Play is all about that fun and functional factor, when it comes to movement. Beautiful.
I would love to know, Darryl, what's the most inspiring thing for you about movement and play?
That we can all, it's open and accessible to everyone. Regardless. I mean, I've done workshops with people who are in, they're in wheelchairs, people who require assistance to move. They're suffering, say, from conditions such as multiple sclerosis, for example. And within seconds, they can achieve so much more than how they were in their previous state, because they're in a place of play. They're in a play state because they're in a more mindful state, and that's what I feel is the power. Is what's powerful about play and a playful approach to movement. And kids can enter this world very, very easily. And as adults, we need to learn how to break the barriers. But once we do, it is so powerful and so life changing, and really is available to all And that's where I feel Primal Play works really well, is that I'm trying to lower the barriers to entry and say, look, we can all do this. We can all take part in this experience. We can all enjoy movement and what it's about. And, I'm just here to shepherd you along, to guide you and assist you in kind of creating your own pathway to a playful path. So that's what is the most powerful and potent aspect of this messaging, is that it is available and accessible to us all.
Well, I love it. I've got one last question for you. Let's do something that's actionable for everyone. So maybe 3 takeaways. Like, you mentioned some examples throughout the conversation, but what are 3 ways that people can incorporate more movement into their day, now or tomorrow?
Always take the stairs. Always take the stairs. Whenever you're sitting, think about an interesting way, if you're at home. If you're sitting, think about an interesting way for you to get off your chair or sofa, and spend more time sitting on the ground. So you have to spend more time actually getting up out of that position. And the third would be, think about the most fun and interesting game you played as a child, and penciled some time in, probably this weekend, to play it with a group of friends. And just do it. Don't involve alcohol to get into that playful state. Just decide to go to your local park or beach or whatever habitat is good for you, and just play one of the games you remember playing. Spend some time talking about it, your favorite games, and playing it. Because when you do that, you'll find 5-10 minutes will seem like 10 seconds has gone past. You can spend hours when you're in that state. And then what you realize is that you've just spent a few hours of playing out and working really hard and having fun, but it just didn't seem like exercise. And it didn't seem like you were punishing yourself. It felt as if you were just enjoying yourself. So those are my top 3 for people to try and do in the next 7 days. Always take the stairs, find different ways of from sitting to standing, whether you're sitting on the ground or in a sofa or armchair. And the third is to find a childhood game and recreate that as an adult sometime this week with your friends.
Those are definitely 3 things that, you don't need equipment, you don't need to make time for it, you just kind of need to look for opportunities throughout your day, as we've been talking about. Great advice. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So, Darryl, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you online, what you're working on that's coming up as well, and also if you wanted to mention a little bit more about the program that maybe we didn't cover?
Yeah, I think we were very comprehensive, and so I apologize for ranting on. I'm so passionate about this. That definitely comes out. But so my blog is primalplay.com. I have a free ebook available to everyone for download called The Importance of Play. If you want to find out a little bit more about living a more playful lifestyle. And if you want to connect with me on social media, my handle is @FitnessExplorer on Twitter, on Instagram. And if you search for the Fitness Explorer or Darryl Edwards online, you're bound to see me. You're bound to see me somewhere along the line. So I'd love to hear, get some feedback, and to find out about your experiences in playing a little bit more and having fun with fitness and getting more joy out of movement.
Beautiful. All right, well, I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for listening. And as always, you can find me at www.reconnect.me. And if you wouldn't mind, I'd absolutely love it if you're able to leave a rating and review on iTunes, because it helps spread these messages even further. And if there's anyone in your life that you feel may benefit from hearing a conversation like this, feel free to share it with them. And until next time, I'll talk with you all soon.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavor to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional.